How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. Well, my royal family, as the plot thickens. When I say juicy, I mean this shit that I dug into last night is epic. That's one of these type of videos, my royal family. I'm bringing the fire and the thunder, and I'm getting to the core of true fuckery. So as I'm, saying the things that I'm saying, you need to go get your shit and lean all up in this. I got my shit on deck. I got it on deck. Let me take a quick little swig here. Getting kind of low. So, my royal family, we are back at more exposure of DA Jackie Johnson. Let's not lose sight of that name. Now, let's go over here real quick. So, over here on the True Royal Family, or True Royal, I repeat myself a lot for a reason, because I don't want y'all to forget certain things. So I'm going to repeat what I even said yesterday. Now, what the royal family is about to witness is the very thing that our father told me. Again, because we got some new people too. And it's been 3 years now. That the white woman would be the first to get my wrath. But that does not exclude the white man, because he upheld her shit. So she gets this position, and she's covering, I think, about 5 or 6 districts. And the things that I'm going to present, because it's like, I'm going to present about the McMichaels, or especially the father. And then it's going to blend into some other fuckery about how she gets down. So we ain't lost sight of our royal son at all, Mr. Arbery. But just showing how grimy and greasy how the enemy gets down. This is truly the age of exposure. And I'm about to deliver, my royal family. I'm about to really deliver. I know I'm driving some people up the wall because I'm very slow and methodical about what I do. I got to make it sweet. And you can't make anything sweet when you're fast at it. You got to let it marinate, because I'm talking about juicy. Oh, juicy. So now the shit has hit the fan. And folks is concerned. But let's not lose sight. All these things that they saying about her directly, they upheld her shit. And in turn, those others that upheld her shit will get the wrath too. Juicy. Damn, juicy. Ain't I good, my royal family? Oh, yeah, I'm good today. But I'm a humble person. You are just as good too, because I've been reading all of y'all comments and y'all are sparking me. So this is an example of we all need each other. I can't do this by myself at all, and I appreciate you. So before we get into these videos, let's get over here real quick. All right, Jackie and your boy. So I have something to read from The Guardian, and I'll try my best to pin it because sometimes I forget. And I'm not reading the whole article, but what I'm about to read, it was a warning given to the DA in dealing in the continuous affairs of McMichaels. She was warned back in 2014 of her atrocious behavior. So, but McMichaels, let me see, wait a minute, let me make sure I get it right. Okay, we don't need that part. But McMichaels didn't alert his supervisor to the deficiency until 2014, according to the records. The problem was so severe, Post considered suspending him indefinitely. He was stripped of his gun and department vehicle while he appealed to the state for a waiver. On April 2014, memo to Johnson, Mark Meadow, another investigator in her office, warned that because McMichael lost his power of arrest, any improper actions by Greg would fall on Greg or McMichaels. The district attorney office and you personally. Like that's basically saying if he fuck up, shit slide downhill real quick. So she was warned, and probably was warned even by other people. But again, they upheld her shit. So McMichael ultimately had his certification restored, but Johnson, the district attorney, wrote to the agency responsible for overseeing the certification process that the episode was a great embarrassment to me and investigator Michael. It has negatively impacted my office. I have taken measures to ensure that this doesn't happen, Johnson added, stating that she was grateful that the state law enforcement standards and training post director had reinstated the license after she met him in person to lobby on McMichael's behalf. This ties like not tied, but it's the same shit like with the college scandal. He couldn't pass the damn test, and then she go out of her way and have a face-to-face meeting with the people to deal with that and lobby for him. You know, now she want a distance from him. They had a very tight, close relationship. I wouldn't be surprised if they was both fucking and sucking at the same time. You know, I'm gonna keep it raw, my royal family. I ain't about to cut my tongue over here. So she personally liable to McMichael's behalf. Okay, but in February 2019, months before he retired, McMichaels again lost his certification for post for failing to complete the required training in 2018. Weeks later, his supervisor reassigned him to work as a staff liaison in the Camden County District Attorney's Office and noted that he would not engage in any activity that would be construed as being law enforcement in nature. His supervisor noted he would not carry a badge or firearm in his role. That'd be a black man, they would fire him. The records highlighted the multiple medical and personal issues that McMichael cited from missing various training programs. In a letter by McMichaels to explain his absences between 2005, damn, they go back even to 5? Okay, last number I seen was 6, 1 year, and 2010, and requested a training exemption. He stated that in 2006, following a heart attack, he experienced clinical depression. The depression made me unable at times to focus on important tasks. I ultimately sought treatment, which continues to this day, he writes. You think he wrote that shit? You really think he wrote that shit? Yeah, right. He writes that in 2019, he and his wife filed for bankruptcy, and later that year, he experienced a second heart attack. I believe that this heart attack was brought on in large part by the stress that I was experiencing both at home and at work. You wasn't doing a motherfucking thing. You was sitting up on your ass eating fat burgers. That's what you was doing. He's 64 years old. He ain't healthy. Look at them bags under his eyes and shit. You think he sit down and eat salad? You really? That's one of Trump's partners. They live at McDonald's. That's high cuisine in their world. As we continue on. So, he experienced 2 heart attacks. McMichael's personnel file, which stretches back to the year he was employed by Brunswick District Attorney Office, also gives insight into his general performance as an employee and other training he received on the job. For example, the records indicated McMichael's completed only 1 training course in the use of de-escalation. That's the best I could get it out. That was tongue twister tactics. But completed 4 courses devoted to understanding terrorism. And another one on the introduction to terrorism. Okay. His annual, let me stop there. See, they get off on that stuff, that terrorism stuff, because they think they'll learn something. He thought it was above him. He didn't have to go. Plus, he couldn't, he's slow. Look what he produced. Anyway, his annual reviews from supervisors presented a mixed track record, and his overall performance is never rated above good. Yeah, never rated above good. Wow. 1 November 2000. Now we're going back to 2000. Revealed notes needed to improve his organization and how he prioritized of his workload, and multiple reports describe a lack of organization skills. So basically, and they do this throughout the United States. The industry I worked in, they did it. When you got a complete fuck up, what they'll be concerned about is, they got to make sure they get their pension when they retire. They'll go find something for them to go piddle and do, That's what they did on my job, and that's what they did. They said, just put them in some office, you shuffle some paper around, and, just walk around like you're doing something, and then bam, next thing you know, you got a nice little retirement. That's what that was all about. But I guarantee you, because I said it the other day, there's going to be more coming out. Because people checking phone records, and you can delete shit all you want. They got a database, my royal family. So I have presented that. And so this first video I'm going to get into is in pertaining to that. And then we're going to go over to even more juice.
Turning now to the investigation into the shooting death of Ahmaud Arbery.
Oops, excuse me.
The News4JAX I-team is digging deeper into the background of one of the men charged with murder. Gregory McMichael is a retired investigator for the Brunswick District Attorney's Office. The I-team discovered for 8 years of his time as an investigator, he was not a certified law enforcement officer. Now the policy agency that accredits who suspended him is speaking exclusively with News4JAX I-team investigator Kelly Wiley about what this means.
The executive director of Georgia Post says for 8 years of Greg McMichael's time here as chief investigator, he had as much authority to arrest someone as an average citizen. Multiple attorneys tell me the severity depends on how many cases he touched. One of the men seen in the bed of a truck is a former investigator for the Brunswick District Attorney's Office. Gregory McMichael has been the chief investigator under DA Jackie Johnson for more than 20 years. Personnel records from 2014 show for at least 8 years, McMichael was acting as an investigator with no arrest powers due to a lack of training. The executive director of Georgia's Peace Officer Standards and Training Council, Mike Ayers, says it means he couldn't apply for orders of arrest warrants, search warrants, or conduct arrests under the color of the law.
Essentially, that individual at that point in time has no more authority to exercise restraint or control over another individual than any other citizen would have.
Attorney Gene Nichols says there are big implications for this revelation.
So what I think we're going to see, if we haven't already seen it already, is all of these defendants who, if he was involved in their case, all are going to have the right to come back into court and say, wait a minute, I want my case looked at again because he was involved with it and he had no lawful authority to do what he was doing. A lot of it's going to depend upon how much involvement he had in each one of the cases.
A letter in McMichael's personnel records state the office learned McMichael was behind on his training hours in April of 2014. The memo states he knew he was behind on hours, but recently discovered he had not had arrest powers since 2006. It had been 8 years. A staff member wrote, until his arrest powers are restored, he has to hand over his badge, any identification cards identifying him as a deputy sheriff or district attorney's office investigator, and his department-issued firearm. After the revelation, McMichael went before the Georgia Post Council and was granted a waiver, allowing him to stay on as a full-time investigator. His boss, DA Jackie Johnson, spoke in front of the council on his behalf, writing in a letter that the situation had, quote, negatively impacted my office. Personnel files show McMichael for years was behind on governor-mandated training hours for de-escalation, community-oriented policing, and use of force.
Those particular classes are critically important, especially when you look at terms like situations like de-escalation. How do you keep a situation from getting out of hand, which is potentially what you're looking at specifically in this situation. Now, at that point in time, they were not acting as law enforcement officers, but had he been a law enforcement officer at that time, de-escalation training certainly speaks to that whole issue.
Another interesting aspect to this is how it happened. Greg McMichael in his personnel file said that he had not known that he was without these arrest powers for this period of time. When we spoke to the executive director, he said at that period of time that we're talking about, it wasn't an uncommon issue. Agencies and officers themselves, they had the responsibility of keeping track of their training. Since Georgia Post has created a new system where they do yearly audits and they send out notification to officers as soon as they are now suspended. Now, we have reached out to the District Attorney Johnson's office again about this issue. Specifically, we were wondering how many cases this could potentially impact. We have yet to hear back. Reporting in Brunswick, Kelly Wiley, Channel 4.
All right, my royal family. So, we see how that's going down. Because what that does, ultimately, my royal family, is for them to look into records. That's going to cost the state more money. They're going to charge taxpayers anyway. But they got to look into everything now. So they're going to be doing a real serious, deep audit. But you know, one thing, the common denominator that I've been hearing, and I know y'all have too, is that they don't remember nothing. They all of a sudden they dumb, convenient amnesia, and all of that, because they on a hot ass seat. And as far as like these certifications and all that stuff that he needed, well, their attitude is just because of their sheer existence, they don't need all of that, you know. But the very test that they put together, that they rig in their favor, his retarded ass couldn't pass the test. So now we are shifting gears just a bit, and we're going to get into something that the royal family experienced damn near every millisecond in America. So just chill for just a second. Put that picture up there like that. We ain't gonna lose sight of that. So let's get into this first video.
Thank you, Maggie. Tomorrow, for the first time, we expect to hear from attorneys representing Gregory McMichael, one of the two men charged in the death of Ahmaud Arbery.
And as we told you earlier this hour, we heard from attorneys representing McMichael's son, Travis McMichael, today. They asked people to reserve judgment in the case until all facts are presented in court. Police reports state that Travis McMichael and his father drove down the street looking for a man they saw running down the road in their neighborhood. The report states the two saw Arbery and shouted at him to stop running. Then Travis McMichael got out of the truck with his firearm, video showing the two struggle over the gun. And then after this, you can hear 3 gunshots and then see Arbery fall to the ground.
News4JAX has also learned the Justice Department now has another request to investigate the Glynn County Police Department and the Brunswick DA. As we reported yesterday, U.S. Senator Kamala Harris, a former district attorney herself, wrote this formal letter to Attorney General William Barr. It says the federal government needs to independently investigate if the handling of Mr. Arbery's case also fits within a disturbing pattern of misconduct in the Glynn County justice system. Georgia's Attorney General also made the request to the Justice Department.
And News4JAX I-Team investigator Lindsey Gardner digs into the other controversial cases now coming under the microscope.
Caroline Small, Katie Kettle Sasser, Johnny Hall Jr. 3 people all dead, 3 shootings, all involving 1 Glynn County police officer. The News4JAX I-Team found they were all killed years apart in under different circumstances. But we also uncovered questions still surround the involvement of Brunswick District Attorney Jackie Johnson in all 3 cases.
Glynn County stands out as perhaps the worst example in my career. There is a culture set from the top, protect your own, to a fault.
Bill Atkins is a former Georgia prosecutor and civil rights attorney practicing for 25 years. He once represented Caroline Small's family in a civil suit over the deadly use of force by Glynn County police. Dashcam video shows Small leading officers on a low-speed chase in 2010. The 35-year-old mother was unarmed and pinned in when she was shot through her windshield by 2 Glynn County police officers, Todd Simpson and Corey Sasser. D.A. Johnson presented the officer-involved shooting to a grand jury. It was there that Attorney Atkins says the DA made critical missteps. First, Johnson provided the officer's defense attorneys with the evidence before she presented it to a grand jury. Second, Johnson went before the grand jury without presenting an indictment. And third, Johnson allowed the defense attorneys to actually participate in the grand jury hearing by asking questions. Atkins says all 3 of these actions were violations of Georgia law.
She violated that plainly, unequivocally, and there was no consequence other than the fact that 2 men went free.
In Caroline Small's case, do you feel like the 2 officers should have faced charges?
Absolutely. I don't think there's any doubt about it. The whole thing was just one of the worst abuses of authority and efforts to protect and, frankly, cover up police misconduct I've ever seen. It's remarkable to me that woman still has her job.
Months after the Small shooting, the I-Team found Officer Corey Sasser was promoted. Fast forward to 2018, despite being accused of domestic violence while divorcing his wife, kicking in her door and threatening to kill her, that moment was captured on police body cam.
He said that tonight?
Yes, he did. He did. He threatened. He's upset. Just get him off my property.
Were you kicking on their door?
No, I knocked on the door.
Okay.
Parker.
Did you make it? Oh, don't.
Did I what?
Don't.
Did I what?
You weren't kicking on the door. I've asked him to come over here.
I'll talk to Scott. I didn't go look on the door.
I'm asking
Here's my
you.
shoes, buddy. I'm a little upset.
I can
too.
see that.
The now police lieutenant was granted not 1, but 2 bonds to get out of the Glynn County jail. He was then fired, but still able to track down his ex-wife, Katie Kettle Sasser, and her friend, Johnny Hall Jr., shoot and murder both of them before killing himself.
Because Corey Sasser avoided justice in the Caroline Small case and was thus free to commit 2 horrific crimes less than 5 years later. That's the consequence of protecting your own to a fault.
Is there a systemic problem with justice in Brunswick and Glenn County?
I don't live in that community, but I worry for the people who do.
The I-Team reached out to Johnson's personal attorney as well as her office for comment. They both sent us the same statement released 2 days ago, saying in part, "We are confident that any investigation will ultimately show that our office acted appropriately under the circumstances. Our obligation has been and will always be to honor, protect, and abide by the law. In the interest of protecting the integrity of any future legal proceedings, our office has no further comment at this time." Reporting for the I-Team, Lindsay Gardner, Channel 4, the local station.
Wow. When I heard that, I was like, damn, check the play. Where he at? This dude going a high-speed chase, him and his partner. Kill a white girl. I was shocked. Because that's what they do to our black men and women. And she did, what she did is what they do to us, that's just common to us. And no discipline at all. He talking about he's shocked? Fuck him. He used to be a prosecutor. Fuck him. They do this to us all the time. See, that's an example of the enemy eating his own. It is what it is. So he killed his white girl, him and this partner. She didn't have no gun or nothing, on a low speed chase because they was pissed. Then his ex-wife is done with his ass and she got her new thing on the side, and he coming through the night kicking in doors and shit like that and threatening them, and get away with that too, doing the threats. Oh, and let's not leave sight out of, and then get promotions on top of that. They do this all the time. This ain't nothing new. I keep saying, my royal family, there is a major crack in their system. Now, I know the enemy over here listening. I'm controlling you. America will never be the same again. Juicy. As we continue on, let me make sure I got everything right, my royal family. I don't want to lose sight of nothing. Okay. Now we're going to get into this next video. We got 2 over here to watch. So let me see here. They always put this thing on mute. I'll refresh.
Because we're sorting through so many different stories for you tonight.
First, a newly filed lawsuit.
Oh, I don't have to.
Many of the
Still
officials
gonna
and
do
agencies. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jovita Moore.
And I'm George Estevez. We're glad you're with us now because we're sorting through so many different stories for you tonight.
First, a newly filed lawsuit targets many of the officials and agencies now under investigation in the Ahmaud Arbery case.
But this complaint goes back to what happened between the Glenn County Police Department and one of its rogue officers who went on a killing spree 2 years ago.
Channel 2's investigative reporter Nicole Carr joins us now live. And Nicole, the victim's estate believes the Arbery case will play a part in their wrongful death lawsuit.
Right, because of what you all just described, involving some of the same agencies and the history of how they've handled arrests in cases involving people who know one another very well.
He's not allowed in my house. This is not his house.
This Glenn County Police body camera footage was recorded almost 2 years ago to the day. We showed you the footage in 2018, and it gives us a look at then Police Lieutenant Corey Sasser, the suspended Glenn County officer seen in a domestic dispute with his estranged wife and her boyfriend. The pair at times begging Sasser's colleagues to haul him off to jail.
Come on, guys. Even though he's one of yours, you come up and kick a door in, if it had been me, you'd have locked him up.
Within 2 months, the 3 would be dead in a double murder-suicide at Sasser's hands, and given Sasser's history with the local DA and police that we uncovered in an earlier investigation, critics felt there was blood on some Glenn County leaders' hands for failing to discipline Sasser when it mattered most, coddled by those who knew him even when he was on a killing spree and running from police.
Corey, honey, you need to stop, and you need to stop now.
And literally, Corey Sasser
was completely out of control. And in fact, at one point, he had boasted to people that he was untouchable by the Glenn County Police Department.
Today, what happened in May of 2018 is wrapped into this newly filed wrongful death suit against Glenn County and several of its police officers, adding to the problems facing a South Georgia community thrust into the national spotlight. Its law enforcement and legal leaders from the Sasser investigation are now at the center of new investigations into how they handled the early stages of the Ahmaud Arbery murder case and the suspects that include a former Glenn County police officer turned DA investigator and his son.
Here's what you see. You see the same exact kind of conduct that you saw in the Corey Sasser matter. This is a police department where its duty is to protect and serve the public, not protect and serve those that it knows or those that it has worked with in the past.
Atlanta-based attorney Darren Penn represents Katie Kettle Sasser's estate. This month, the estate filed an amended wrongful death suit for the murder of Katie Sasser. The allegations are based on those records we'd reported in 2018, that the Glenn County Police Department failed to charge her estranged husband, Corey Sasser, for repeated death threats and stalking her in the middle of the night, even after a police report acknowledged he'd likely done just that. And even after a domestic arrest, he violated terms of bond and got into a SWAT standoff with weapons. Instead of going to jail, there was a collective effort between the courts and Sasser's colleagues to send him to mental health treatment and allow his son to recover the weapons. And while Sasser would end up banned from Glenn County in the summer of 2018, he's recorded lying to colleagues while he's on the run from police.
He's at the jail. They don't listen to us. He's at the jail. I'm on the phone with him now.
It takes communication with the deputies chasing him and minutes of back and forth for his colleague to realize Sasser lied to her.
Corey, honey, you need to stop, and you need to stop now.
He'd already murdered 2 people. He was being given the benefit of the doubt until the very end when he ended up killing himself. Brunswick District Attorney Jackie Johnson never responded to previous requests to comment on the Sasser case, and she's not named as a defendant in this lawsuit. But our previous reporting revealed years earlier she'd allowed false police evidence to go before a grand jury, suggesting Sasser and a fellow officer were acting in self-defense when they killed an unarmed woman through her windshield years earlier. Body cam footage showed that was not true, and that grand jury let the officers off years before the Sasser double murder-suicide. Johnson is now being investigated by state officials in the Arbery case alongside a neighboring district attorney as questions loom about whether they'd protected a suspect that worked along Johnson and that DA's son in Johnson's office.
But do you think everything that's going on with the Arbery investigation and the closer look into the department and all of those things will have any impact on you all's wrongful death suit?
I think it very well could have I think it could have a big impact on it. You have individuals that are intimately familiar with that department, and they're also intimately familiar with the district attorney's office. And you see this huge hesitancy to do anything about it and to frankly do their job.
Now, county leaders would not comment on the pending litigation tonight. And earlier this week, we showed you how some lawmakers want voters to decide this November whether to get rid of the Glenn County Police Department altogether. You can watch all of this, our continuing coverage on WSBTV.com right now. Nicole Card, WSB Tonight.
Those details and the patterns, Nicole, thank you.
All right, my royal family. Let me do something here real quick. Okay, we're going to freeze this. All right, as we continue on. Is this the one? Let me see what I got here. I'm losing sight of one of my, let's see. Lost one of my videos. Where's my video? Okay, very important video too that needs to be played. Let's see, not that. Was it that one? No, we don't need to see that one. It might even be over here because I've been doing so much. Because I gotta definitely show this particular video. What really happened? Oh, here it is. Here it is. There it is. Let's see, take that back. Okay. Now we're going to get into this next one.
Intentionally mishandling this horrific police shooting, and as a Channel 2 Action News Atlanta Journal-Constitution investigation exposed this up.
The cover-up was worse than the crime, and the crime was bad enough.
4 former prosecutors are speaking out tonight, accusing their former boss of intentionally mishandling this horrific police shooting, and as a Channel 2 Action News Atlanta Journal-Constitution investigation exposed this summer, the South Georgia District Attorney took extraordinary measures to help clear those officers. Investigative reporter Jody Fleischer here with why many on the DA's staff thought her actions were over the line.
Justin, the GBI agent who supervised this investigation told us Caroline Small's killing was the worst police shooting he'd ever seen. In July, we exposed records showing how the district attorney who took those officers to a grand jury stacked the deck in their favor. Our reporting prompted several of her former prosecutors to come forward in an effort to right the wrongs that have troubled them for 5 years.
This makes me angry. She's giving them. There was no one in our office giving this.
Former Glynn County Prosecutor David Peterson could not believe the records our investigation uncovered. District Attorney Jackie Johnson, his former boss, had made a deal with 2 police officers she was supposed to be considering charging. She took the case to a grand jury, but never showed them an indictment.
I think the grand jury here was undercut, misused, and abused, and they were lied to.
The grand jury cleared officers Corey Sasser and Todd Simpson of a police shooting so shocking none of these prosecutors could believe their eyes. Caroline Small had committed no crime that morning. She drove off when an officer walked up to check on her in a mall parking lot. She drove erratically, eventually blocked in by a utility pole and several patrol cars. On video, one officer said if she moved again, he was going to shoot her. Then they did.
This was a murder and was covered up.
Jonathan Miller resigned to run against Johnson in 2012, in part because of her handling of this case. He said it still troubles him.
There's 2 little kids out there that don't have a mama. She deserves her day in court.
Keith Higgins was a senior prosecutor in Johnson's office. He's broken down in tears over how the justice system failed.
It has affected me very deeply in that regard, and that someone was very brutally killed unnecessarily, and nothing has been done about it.
He says the officers' claims that they feared for their lives did not hold up against the video and other evidence. The Glynn Police Department took extraordinary steps to protect its officers, creating this inaccurate animation. It shows how Small could have run over the officers, which the investigation proved impossible. The DA showed it to the grand jury anyway.
A prosecutor should do what's right, do it in the right way, and do it for the right reason. Ms. Johnson failed to do any of those in this case.
He says with no indictment presented, the officers had no right to be in the grand jury room. Johnson also allowed their attorneys to speak, which is unheard of, and she'd given them all of the evidence 2 months earlier.
So who the hell is representing the public? Who the hell is representing Caroline Small?
Johnson excluded those who best knew the evidence, fired colleagues who wanted the case prosecuted, and even a victim's advocate who questioned the lack of indictment.
We were frozen out of it. That was abnormal.
Peterson, who is also an ex-cop, believes Johnson violated prosecutorial ethics and betrayed her duty to uphold justice. He says she should be impeached.
Sometimes the cover-up is worse than the crime, and the crime was bad enough.
The former prosecutors are now calling on the governor and attorney general to review the case in hopes that the GBI will reopen it. Jackie Johnson declined our request for an interview, but sent a statement saying she took her oath seriously when she presented the case to the grand jury. She did not address any of the specifics from our investigation.
So give us a little something deeper here, Jody. What's the motivation here? Why would she go to these extremes?
Well, it's possible she may have just seen it differently than those other prosecutors, but they also say she was so concerned about damaging her relationship with the police department that it created a conflict of interest. Now remember, she is elected in a very pro-law enforcement community.
All right, Jody Fleischer, thank you for that.
Now, isn't that ironic, my royal family? What we see, what I just presented to y'all is not new to us at all. Not at all. We used to that. So what's the big fucking deal? We're used to it. What's really going on? And now they acting all, oh, it's affected me and how horrible it is. Y'all do us like that every millisecond. Ooh, this is juicy. So we will not lose sight, because I'm going right back to what vastly concerns the royal family.
Turning back now to the Ahmaud Arbery case in our...
Oops, let me open this for y'all. There we go.
I-Team investigation digging into past cases involving Glynn County law enforcement. News for Jack's I-Team investigator Kelly Wiley is joining us live. Kelly, you found this is not the first time they've hesitated one of their own.
That's right. Today I talked to an Atlanta attorney who's representing a woman who's suing the Glynn County Police Department. He says this is not the first time he's seen an officer not arrest one of their own, and he's pointing out a trend going on within law enforcement agencies here in this area. Ahmaud Arbery was killed after retired district attorney investigator Greg McMichael and his son Travis McMichael confronted him in the Satilla Shores neighborhood. Part of the deadly shooting was captured on cell phone video, but neither of the McMichaels was arrested immediately after the deadly shooting. County officials say the day of the shooting, the Brunswick DA advised officers not to arrest the McMichaels. The next day, a DA who had yet to be assigned to the case, George Barnhill, did the same, according to his own letter. Now the Attorney General has requested a federal investigation into the delayed arrests.
Seems to me that the first reaction of the department, and even I'll go as far as the district attorney's office, the first reaction is to protect our own rather than protect the public and do what you're supposed to do under your job.
Atlanta attorney Darren Penn represents a mother suing the same department that investigated Arbery's death, the Glynn County Police Department. The suit claims officers failed to arrest her daughter's ex-husband, a Glynn County lieutenant, Robert Corey Sasser, when he assaulted her daughter in front of officers. Officers didn't arrest Sasser until 2 days later, according to an internal memo. The memo even stated Sasser was clearly not treated as a suspect, but as a police lieutenant, when officers failed to arrest him after the assault happened in front of them. The suit also claims the department failed to intervene before Sasser ultimately killed her daughter, Katie Kettles, her friend, and himself.
I see very similar circumstances because you have Mr. McMichael, who is a former Glynn County police officer, and he also worked with the district attorney's office as an investigator.
The district attorney out of Brunswick denies claims her office blocked the arrest of the McMichaels and says she welcomes a federal investigation into her handling of the case. And we did also ask Jackie Johnson, the district attorney here in Brunswick, her thoughts, and she had any comment on what this lawyer was saying. They said because it's an ongoing case, ongoing litigation, they could not provide comment to that. But you did hear in the statement we just shared with you that when they're talking about the federal investigation that Attorney General Carr has asked for into how Ahmaud Arbery's case was handled, they're welcoming that investigation, and they believe that there are false allegations that are out there that this could clear up and could bring full transparency to. Reporting live in Brunswick,
all right,
Kelly
my royal
Riley,
family.
Channel 4.
Is that it?
Station.
Kelly, thanks. Our coverage continues right now on News for Jack.
So I know some of this overlap because I had to go to various sources, my royal family. But for the type of person I am, to really get the whole body of it, I had to do what I had to do. And it's just amazing to me that that what we deal with all the time, that was classic. We would have thought if I would have played this and this show, no pictures or nothing, you just would have thought it was a black person. And that cop ultimately who killed himself, he felt so emboldened that he put his hands on his ex-wife in front of the cops. Because there's no checks and balances. But all the DAs and all them people that was talking, they all full of shit. Because when she pulled that and other shit she pulled, they could have contacted the feds and say, hey, we got A DA out of control, not following protocol. But again, I said that there is a crack, a major crack in their system. And we're just seeing them implode on thyself. One thing that I wanted to point out real clear as I close this out. The word that keep coming up to me is submit. And when I look at this on a higher spiritual level, the enemy, when they do us like this, and they be faking like they, once they've been exposed throughout the world what they is, like they gonna make it right and all that kind of stuff. And even though 9 times out of 10 it still go back in their favor, you got to still realize there was a space and time they didn't do nothing like that. They would just kill us and leave us right there, and we had to deal with it. So they're having to answer to us even more, even though they're going to continue to do fuckery. See, we chipping at them. And eventually when you chip at them, you chip them all the way down to what they truly is. Nothing. Core evil. All of that. So that messes with their psyche when they have to answer to us, even though they still ultimately hold some type of power in this decaying system. But we're seeing that this decaying system, they will use it on themselves in order to stay in power. But what it shows you on a deeper level, Becky here, trust and believe, she was walking around like she got a big pair of balls. She can't be touched at all. So the very entity that upheld her shit, because he can't stand her, they're going to drag this hoe. I would not be surprised before this is all said and done, somebody take theyself out, but some heads going to roll on this. And they don't give a damn. I ain't lost sight of our royal son. They don't give a damn about us. But you allow 2 white women to come up dead. 2 white women, that they uphold. They're going to make an example of her in their world. But we should not lose sight that it's had nothing to do with us when it comes to what they going to do to their own. This is some juicy stuff, my royal family. I'm talking about epic. It keeps me up at night digging through stuff and reading stuff. Wow, way before they go to trial, what else more gonna come up on her? See, she by herself. She got her little lawyer now and all that, but she by herself. See, when she washed her ass down there to that old white supremacist radio station, she had the attitude like, I can just speak, say what I got to say, and then go about my business, have a damn good day. She don't lose sleep, but she losing sleep now because it's affecting her immediate situation. But all these other events that went down, especially the one that was presented, the bitch did not lose sleep at all. And there's a consistent pattern. When these cops fuck up or anybody that worked around her, Miss Thang take care of it. Miss Ann take care of it. She take care of it to a fault. Now, when she was passing the buck and recusing herself, she made sure she sent it over to another DA because she know that he was going to do what he's supposed to do in their system pertaining to our royal son. And so that other DA, he ain't said nothing. He laying in the cut quiet. She already spilled the beans and hung herself long ago. And it's juicy. Becky, you have absolutely no value in your community. Because overall, you're barren. So, there's a lot under Make America Great Again. And I read what y'all put down my royal family when she was talking about that fake news. That means she's a Trump supporter. But the thing that gets me is show you how treacherous Miss Ann can be, she didn't care if them white girls went down. She didn't even protect her own. What about the sisterhood? What happened to your little sisterhood? It just shows you, when you peel back the layers, who's really upholding a dead system. Oh yeah. This is all biblical, what we watch in my royal family. They're very deep, very deep. So my royal family, I am done. Render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And as always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.